imagination. First, before we begin, we would like to call on Professor Riza Cases, the head of the Sociology Department's Research Committee, for the welcoming remarks.
This is actually a welcome back since the department started organizing the sociology public lectures last semester. We envision these public lectures as a space to talk about and discuss the current research of our faculty members and sociologists in general with a broader audience. In the past lectures of Dr. Walden Bello, Dr. Manuel Sapitola, and Professor John Andrew Evangelista, we were able to provide opportunities for dialogues with various types of publics, such as students, academics, civil society, and the educational and LGBTQ sectors. We are glad to provide such space again this semester, and we hope to welcome more publics in the coming lectures on jail and migration. That will be next month, October and November. On behalf of the Department of Sociology, welcome back and thank you all for helping us with our commitment to promoting public sociology through your participation. I hope we will have a vibrant discussion on anarchist sociology, a perspective and topic that for most of us is something new. Thank you.
Thank you, Riza. Something new and we don't really understand, right? So, okay. So, sige, hindi na formal. Ayoko na maging formal. Introduce na natin, ayoko na magpanggap. Introduce na natin si Papa P, or as we would call him also in the department, Kuya Paeng. Si Kuya Paeng, nakilala ko siya bilang senior member ng Kontragapi, tsaka isang taong nagsasapatos ng walang medyas. Dati siyang certified public accountant at nag-shift siya sometime nung nagma-master siya sa sociology to taking actually sociology as the bread and butter of his life. And he was very passionate about it. Kaya napag-desisyonan na niya na hindi na siya mag-accountant. Sayang lang yung pera, diba? Sa totoo lang naman. Pero ganun siya ka-passionate. So his research interests include the sociology of professions and social systems theory. Ngayon naman, after the sociological turn, nagkaroon naman siya ng isa pang anarchist turn, midlife crisis, in sociological theorizing as a response to the persistent questions from students about what he said, alternative presents and futures. So let's listen to Kuya Paeng or Papa P para talaga maintindihan natin why is it, at the onset, an anarchist sort of sociological imagination is counterintuitive, but it can actually work. Okay? So let's welcome, big round of applause to Kuya Paeng.
Thank you, Hannah. Nakakainis kasi hindi formal yung introduction mo, and I'm lecturing in English. Okay. So this paper is something that I've been working on for more than a year now. A lot of you have read the sociological imagination, and I think you see the play in the words, no? Parang the promise kasi is usually the first thing that sociology majors are asked to read. And I'm making a case today that you could actually make a connection between the sociological imagination and anarchism. So I would like to take it from C. Wright Mills himself. No? C. Wright Mills himself said that he's a goddamn anarchist. Madalas kasi hindi nakakahon kung ano yung politika niya. But in a letter that he sent to some of his friends, parang niya na, they always think that I'm just a critic of the liberal order, but I'm also a critic of Marxism, and down deep and systematically, I'm a goddamn anarchist. And I'm here to show that there really is a connection between anarchism and what we call the sociological imagination. The origins of the ideas in this paper could be traced to 4 semesters ago. It was my 3rd year shifting from accounting to sociology, And I was having so much fun teaching sociology, and my favorite class back then was Social 114, or the Philippine Social System. In my closing lecture for the said class, taking cue from my favorite sociologist, Niklas Luhmann,
Wow, talaga.
I emphasized how modern society is a society that is out of control, and that its current level of complexity has made any attempts to steer its direction futile and unpredictable. Then a student of mine, who is now in the audience, popped the dreaded question. If we are a society that is out of control, then what should we do about it? If the prospects of steering this society are limited, can we actually do something about it? So my lecture today stems from my attempts to answer these two questions. What I found was that C. Wright Neal's opening statement in the sociological imagination still rings true today. People still feel that their lives are a series of traps, and that within their everyday worlds, they cannot overcome their troubles. Reason and freedom remain imperiled with the creeping extension of society's control. However, Neal's diagnosis that what people need is a quality of mind that will help them to use information and to develop reason in order to achieve lucid summations of what is going on in the world and of what may be happening within themselves is proving to be insufficient in our over-explained era. Much ink has been spilled using the sociological imagination to explain the world's current predicament, but not much has been said about the alternative futures, or more importantly, the alternative presents that offer possible pathways out of the mess we now find ourselves in. Case in point is how many of us deal with the failure called the Philippine state. The last couple of years has confirmed what many of us has been suspecting for a long time. The Philippine liberal democratic state is dead. The EDSA Republic, that mishmash of elite rule, foreign intervention, and neoliberal economic mismanagement coated with democratic rhetoric, has been discredited, pushed over the cliff, and now the vultures are feeding on its carcass. Responding to this dismal situation, groups of varying political colors, liberals, national democrats, social democrats, self-styled socialists of different shades, and a not insignificant number of political opportunists, are united not just by their call to oust Duterte, but also by their belief that the state is necessary in bringing about the change that they seek. Whether the call is for a mere regime change or for a bolder systemic revolution, the state is an essential element of many visions of a post-Duterte future. Fate remains that a political institution that has historically been a bastion of hierarchic domination and violence could be turned into an instrument to fight against authoritarianism and elite rule. Truly, as Shanks and Williams put it, the accumulated experience, history, and mythology of centuries of nation-state hegemony make it difficult to even imagine anything that suggests an alternative means of arranging society. The inability, or should I say refusal, to see the state as an institutional disaster is not just a Philippine affliction but a global one. The turn of the 21st century saw the state gutted and consigned to the sidelines with the diffusion of neoliberal ideas in seats of political power. However, the second decade of the 21st century has seen farcical callbacks to the strong states of yesteryears, with heads of states threatening trade warfare, imposing immigrant controls, and fanning the flames of nationalist populist jingoism. With the likes of Donald Trump, Rodrigo Duterte, Bashar al-Assad, Jair Bolsonaro, and Xi Jinping serving as poster boys of the new global political order, I wonder how long the facade masking this pile of rubble would manage to remain in place. The lack of imagination in the political sphere is matched only by the lack of imagination in the economic sphere. Since the end of the Cold War and the delegitimization of authoritarian socialism, capitalism has reigned supreme globally despite mounting evidence of its complicity in exacerbating inequality and poverty. Neoliberal freedom has turned out to be nothing but individualized conformity, dressed in the discourse of choice. capitalism proved to be durable and adaptable, lending credence to the invisible committee's claim that we're not experiencing a crisis of capitalism, but rather the triumph of crisis capitalism. Many critics of the global capitalist order fall back to old formula, trying to gain wisdom from the smoke still emanating from the extinct volcanoes of Marxism, digging up German, Russian, Italian, and Chinese corpses to pick their brains in search for theoretical guidance to revolutionary practice. However, it's not all doom and gloom. Successes can be found at the cracks of the global system of control and domination. For example, we have the inspiring Zapatistas of Chiapas, a beacon of autonomous and indigenous organizing against the neoliberal order that's been running for more than 2 decades now. We also have the example of Chiran district in Mexico, where they kicked out all politicians, and not just all politicians, they kicked out the police. And for some reason, they're the only zone in Mexico that doesn't have any crime today. We have these worker-operated factories in the neoliberal wasteland of Argentina, where the workers themselves run the factories. They do not have any owners, parang sila yung nag-ooperate ng lahat ng factory doon. And then, one of the most recent experiments na big scale is the multi-ethnic democratic experiment in Rojava in Syria, where you have Kurds, Arabs, and other races trying to make a democratic confederalist society work, and their economy is organized along cooperative lines, and they are trying to run an ecological society while they are fighting ISIS, while they are fighting Bashar al-Assad, and Erdogan's Turkey. Closer to home, we have various mutual aid associations, we actually have free schools, and we have free discussion groups. And these are just a few examples of communities that related their troubles to the global system of control and exercised the imagination to turn the slogan, "Another world is possible," into reality. What people need now is a quality of mind that will not just help them explain the condition of this world and their place in it, but also help them imagine how another world, another way of relating to each other, and another way of organizing society could be possible. What people need is a quality of mind enlivened by a practical utopian sensibility that does not lose itself in the clouds, but rather sees potentialities for freedom in the present, especially in the everyday practices of resistance against different forms of domination. What people need now is a quality of mind that lends not only a critical eye for intellectual clarity, but also a reconstructive vision of a society founded on the aspiration for a free society of free individuals. This, I would argue, is the promise of an anarchist sociological imagination. I would establish first the relation between freedom and the sociological imagination. Nowadays, there is rarely a student of sociology who has not been introduced to the discipline through the sociological imagination, especially the first chapter, The Promise. The sociological imagination is a quality of mind which aims to grasp history and biography and the relations between the two within society. More concretely, Mills posed the following questions as characteristic of the individual who exercises this imagination. First are the set of questions relating to society. What is the structure of the society? What are its essential components and how are they related to one another? What is the meaning of any particular feature for its continuance and for its change? The second set of questions that Mills proposed has to do about history. Where does this society stand in human history? What are the mechanics by which it is changing? What is its place within and its meaning for the development of humanity as a whole? How does it differ from other periods? What are its characteristic ways of history making? The third set of questions that Mills posed for the sociological imagination is a set of questions about the individual and biography. What varieties of men and women now prevail in this society and in this period? What varieties are coming to prevail? In what ways are they selected and formed, liberated and repressed, made sensitive and blunted? what kinds of human nature are revealed in the conduct and character we observe in this society in this period. This question suggests that understanding personal experience requires a comparative and historical analysis that relates personal circumstances and prospects to the larger structures of society. Understanding changes in many personal milieux requires thinking beyond them and teasing out their interconnections with larger structural change. The task of the social scientist is to translate personal troubles into public issues and public issues into the terms of their human meaning for a variety of individuals. In the first chapter, The Promise, Mills made a case for the explanatory and sensitizing promise of the sociological imagination. Much less talked about is the sociological imagination's normative promise, which is elaborated in the book's final 4 chapters. Okay, ito pala yun. Okay? Exercising the sociological imagination, may umabot ba sa last 4 chapters ng libro dito? Parang wala di ba? Pero in the last 4 chapters, Mills actually said that this is the promise of the sociological imagination. Exercising the sociological imagination holds the promise of realizing the values of truth, reason, and freedom. Now, freedom for Mills is not just the opportunity to choose, but firstly the chance to formulate and argue over possible choices. To become a free individual in a free society is to have the power to create and shape, within the limits of historical possibility, alternative paths to one's future. Reason, insofar as it enables crafting and making choices, plays an important role in freedom's realization. And truth is the means to achieve this political end. Truth is the means to achieve reason and freedom. Now, the normative promise of the sociological imagination is a systematic statement of what Mills called knowledge as an idea. Mills said, what knowledge does to a man in clarifying what he is and setting it free, that is the personal ideal of knowledge. What knowledge does to a civilization in revealing its human meaning and setting it free, that is the social ideal of knowledge. The ideal of knowledge is the enlargement of both individual and collective freedom. Mill's idea of the link between sociology and freedom has been affirmed by other sociologists. Peter Berger, na hindi nyo mabasa kasi maliit yung font, okay, using a puppet theater analogy, describes sociological understanding as akin to perceiving the mechanism by which one is being pulled by society's subtle strings. Peter Berger said that in this realization lies the first step towards freedom. So freedom yung tinuturo niya na end. Zygmunt Bauman and Tim May posited that sociological thinking widens the scope and practical effectiveness of freedom by rendering flexible the oppressive fixity of social relations. This is the key to gaining substantive freedom, for there are no greater guarantees of individual freedom than the freedom of us all. The link between sociology and freedom has been widely articulated, but it has not translated into practice. Mills would have rolled over his grave had he witnessed the development of fields of sociology that push for the application of the sociological imagination in crafting marketing strategies, branding tactics, and business plans for the corporations and power elites that Mills fought against in his lifetime. The sociological imagination has also been watered down with its widespread application for producing sound bites for media outfits. What Todd Gitkin said, a fast food version of nutrient, a sprinkling of holy water on the commercial trend of the moment, and a trivialization of insight. Deviations from the sociological imagination's normative promise stem from the failure to articulate the discipline's normative goals and the more reconstructive orientation within the central questions proposed for sociological inquiry. The sociological imagination needs the infusion of a sensibility that will bring out explicitly its commitment to freedom. Such sensibility should not just aid the sociological imagination in critically exposing structural hindrances that prevent the realization of its cherished values, but also in articulating a reconstructive vision of how such values could take root and flourish in society. This suggests the practice of sociology not just as a scientific enterprise but also as a political project. Following C. Wright Mill's lead, this project should be grounded in a political philosophy that provides an ideology in terms of which certain institutions and practices are justified and others are attacked, an ethic or an articulation of ideals, strategies and programs that embody both ends and means, and a clear theoretical conceptualization of the human individual, society, and history. And insofar as the values of reason and freedom are our cherished ends, I argue that the political philosophy that would imbue the sociological imagination with a sensibility that would realize its promise is the much maligned philosophy of anarchism. Anarchism is actually the political philosophy of freedom. However, for many people, the word anarchy is often equated with chaos. At the start of the 20th century, Emma Goldman already noted how anarchism had to contend with the ignorance and venom of the world it aimed to reconstruct. A century after Goldman's observation, anarchism remains one of the most demonized and misconceived political ideologies of our times, thanks in large part to the repudiation, ridicule, and misconception of proponents of competing political philosophies, liberals, neoliberals, and most especially Marxists. Let us analyze the term's etymology. The word anarchy came from the combination of the Greek term an, which means without, and archon, which means ruler. Anarchy then stands for without rulers, not without rules, which is a very important distinction. Anarchy stands not for a lack of order, but rather a lack of domination. If we equate anarchism generally to anti-authoritarianism, we could say that anarchic strains of thought have been around since the first attempts of people to fight against tyrannical rule. Anarchism as a distinct Enlightenment era political philosophy in Europe took shape when Godwin penned A Theory of Stateless Society and Pierre-Joseph Proudhon declared that society seeks order in anarchy. These ideas would be expounded, developed, and refined by succeeding generations of radicals, including Mikhail Bakunin, Peter Kropotkin, Emma Goldman, Gustav Landauer, Rudolf Racker, and Enrico Malatesta, to fill out what would be called classical anarchism. This so-called Big A anarchism thrived as part of a large internationalist left until it suffered a decisive blow with the defeat of the Spanish anarchists under the hands of the combined forces of fascism and authoritarian socialism during the Spanish Revolution in the 1930s. After decades of going under the radar because of the hegemony of liberal democracy and authoritarian socialism after World War II, the black flag of anarchism saw the light of day again during the tumultuous year of 1968, which marked the flourishing of the so-called new social movements. During the anti-globalization protests in November 1999 against the WTO in Seattle, the new anarchists took center stage and triggered the anarchist turn in anti-capitalist organizing and theorizing. The new anarchism that emerged at the turn of the 20th century combined the tenets of classical anarchism with elements from situationist thought, social ecology, feminism, anti-nuclear movements, the insurrectionary philosophy of the autonomen, the anti-globalization and indigenous resistance sparked by the Zapatista uprising in Chiapas, Mexico, and other intellectual strains like post-structuralism and postmodernism. It is this so-called small a anarchism that I refer to as the political philosophy that would revitalize the sociological imagination. I offer this definition of anarchism. Anarchism is a critical and reconstructive philosophy of striving towards a free society of free individuals. I will unpack this definition by elaborating on three elements. First, the aspiration. Second, its critical edge. And third, anarchism's reconstructive vision. Let's start with the aspiration. Anarchism is an attempt to synthesize the liberal aim of the emancipated individual and the socialist aim of collectivist communities. Anarchism acknowledges the tension between individual and collective freedom. However, instead of propping up one side of the equation, like liberalism and authoritarian socialism did, anarchism acknowledges the self-society juggling act and asks the more pragmatic question of how people could collectively self-determine their lives both as individuals and as a community. Anarchists turn the tension between individual and social freedom into a creative exercise to figure out ways to coexist and thrive in differentiation. This tension underlies anarchism's recognition of human diversity and experimental spirit, which allows it to remain a practice-grounded political ideology as opposed to a praxis of theory that both liberalism and scientific socialism had become. The anarchist combination of individual and collective freedom as a mutual but tension-filled aspiration stems from its view of society as a network of relationships instead of as an agglomeration of discrete human individuals. If one actually goes back linguistically to the root of the word freedom, pinicturean ko lang sa lecture ko yan, sorry. You will get to the Proto-Indo-European root pre, which means to love. Pre, incidentally, is also the root of the word friend. To be free is to be treated as a friend, not as a slave. To be a friend is to be treated as an equal, not as someone ruled over or as a thing possessed. Freedom actually refers to political equality, hindi individual ang notion ng freedom. One can actually find early affinity of this anarchistic treatment of freedom with the early Stoics from the Greek era, particularly Zeno. Sabi nga ni Zeno, deal with your slave as with a friend. So deal with everybody as a friend. Treat everybody as an equal. And he also said, in the world of sages where everybody is wise, there would be no kings and no laws. And who are the foolish people? The kings, not the subjects. None of Zeno's books incidentally survived, even though by many accounts he was a popular philosopher, because his radical concept of freedom was deemed dangerous by the powers that be that had interest in maintaining power within the state apparatus. Freedom, in this sense, is not individualistic but relational, which resolves the very unproductive dualism between individual and collective freedom. So alam na ni Ma'am Risa kung ano yung paper ko sa relational sociology. Yan. This relational view underlies the invisible committee's reflection that freedom isn't the act of shedding our attachments, but the practical capacity to work on them, to move around in their space, to form or dissolve them. It also informs Nick Montgomery and Carla Bergman's beautiful conception of freedom. If relationships are what compose the world and what shapes our desires, values, and capacities, then freedom is the capacity to participate more actively in this process of composition. The anarchist's relational view of society resonates with C. Wright Mill's argument that the individual and society cannot be understood apart from each other, imploring us to use our sociological imagination to make explicit the relationship between biography and history and between private troubles and public issues. Kasi lumalabas, false naman yung dualisms na yun. Now, to anarchism's critical edge, as part of a large tradition of leftist thinking that emerged in opposition to capitalism in the 19th century, anarchism has always possessed a critical edge. Classical anarchism set itself up against capitalism, the state, and organized religion. This opposition is rooted in the theory that all forms of government, state and non-state alike, rest on violence and are therefore wrong and unnecessary. Diba sabi nga ni Weber, ang nagde-define sa government ay siya yung may legitimate use of violence. Violence ang nagde-define sa government. The revitalized anarchism of the late 20th century expanded its critique from forms of government to hierarchy in general. Murray Bookchin defined hierarchy as a complex system of command and obedience in which elites enjoy varying degrees of control over their subordinates without necessarily exploiting them. The abolition of exploitative bourgeois relations would not necessarily lead to a freer and more egalitarian society if other forms of hierarchies are perpetuated, such as the emergence of the coordinator class in Marxist-Leninist projects. Anarchist critique transcends class-based critique, creating affinities with different struggles that aim to defeat structures of oppression of subjection in all spheres of social life. Anarchism's critique of hierarchy and domination is primarily an ethical one, centered on defending freedom from the crippling effects of vertical power relationships. The struggle against domination proceeds from the premise that vertical authority usurps the power of people to collectively achieve their potential. Power is not oppressive per se, as it could be liberating and freedom-enhancing. It is when power-together relations are supplanted by power over relations that the people's capacity for collective self-determination and self-organization gets stifled. To deepen their critique of the social psychological aspect of hierarchical relations, anarchists have increasingly drawn on Baruch Spinoza's concept of joy, not in its usual usage as a synonym to happiness, but rather as the capacity to affect and be affected. Recent anarchist literature defines its broad object of critique using the concept of empire, the web of control that exploits and administers life, ranging from the most brutal forms of domination to the subtlest inculcation of anxiety and isolation. Anarchists argue that the empire's subjection of people to hierarchic organization inhibit them from their capacity to participate in composing relations and from collectively feeling or doing something new. Joyless life under empire is a regimented life that attempts to bring us all into the same world with one morality, one history, and one direction, and to convert differences into hierarchical violent divisions. Joylessness goes hand in hand with unfreedom. The anarchist ethical critique of hierarchical relations has been supported by practical arguments, especially in the anarchist ecological literature. Healthy ecosystems are characterized by complexity that hinges on the principle of unity in diversity. Humans have been dangerously simplifying their environment, undoing the complexity which was a product of organic evolution. The simplification of nature by humans is exemplified by wide-scale urbanization, which is causing not just environmental destruction but also logistical problems of organization, including transportation, housing, and food production. This leads to ecological imbalances that imperil nature's capacity to support life forms of higher complexity. Human ecological destruction may be traced to humans' hierarchical attitude towards nature. This, in turn, may be traced to humans' hierarchical attitude towards fellow humans. A practical case could then be made against hierarchic organization as the biggest threat to human survival. More than its expansive critique of domination, anarchism is distinguished from other political philosophies by its emphasis on a vision of a society that has transcended hierarchical relations. While its critical edge asserts the idea of liberation or negative freedom, which is freedom from, its vision gives equal importance to positive freedom or freedom to. The anarchist vision is reconstructive. It is not a mere thought experiment, but a reality lived through transformative praxis. Anarchism has a utopian but at the same time practical sensibility. The practical utopianism of anarchism rests on the observation that non-hierarchic forms of organizing and of relating to each other already exist in our day-to-day lives. Existing human organization may be viewed as being of two types. One which is forced on people and run from above, and the other which is run from below, which cannot force people to do anything, and which people are free to join or free to live alone. Anarchists advocate guardianing the scope of the second type of organization, which we actually all participate in whenever we engage with others through non-controlling associations and relationships. Anarchist ideas on revolution are paradoxically proximate but distant at the same time. On one hand, the revolution is proximate because there are plenty of examples of non-hierarchic organizing, mutual aid, cooperative relations, and everyday resistance against domination that already provide the materials for an anarchist society. On the other hand, the revolution is distant because it requires not just a widespread transformation in form, but also in substance of the relations that compose the world. In her explanation of the failure of the Bolsheviks to bring about a socialist revolution in Russia, Emma Goldman insisted that true revolution requires a fundamental transvaluation of values, because to change those conditions and at the same time leave the underlying ideas and values intact means only a superficial transformation, what that cannot be permanent or bring real betterment. Because of the necessity of substantive, not just formal transformation, and because the seeds of the revolution already exist in the present, anarchists insist that means and ends should be commensurate in realizing its reconstructive vision. This is one fundamental difference between Marxist and anarchist thought. Marxist, for example, dito sa sinabi ni Lenin, they say, we do not indulge in dreams of dispensing at once with all subordination. These anarchist dreams are totally alien to Marxism. We want the socialist revolution with human nature as it is now, with human nature that cannot dispense with subordination, control, and managers. On the other hand, Emma Goldman says, today is the parent of tomorrow. The present casts its shadow far into the future. That is the law of life, individual and social. Revolution that divests itself of ethical values lays the foundation of injustice, deceit, and oppression for the future society, because the means used to prepare the future becomes its cornerstone. This ethical position undergirds the primary method of anarchist transformative praxis, namely direct action and prefiguration. Direct action means getting things done in the present without representation, proceeding from the conviction that the only way to build new social relationships and institutions is to birth and nurture them ourselves. Prefiguration means that anarchist strategies and tactics ought to reflect the anarchist end. You cannot have a non-hierarchic end if you have a hierarchic organization to do it. Getting there already brings new forms of organization and institutions into being. Anarchist strategy emphasizes the importance of presence in the present. The realization of the anarchist vision of a joyful transformation of life under empire lies not in the pursuit of a distant goal directed by a universal theory, but through struggling in one's own situation. There is no ironclad program on the future, sabi nga ni Emma Goldman. Many contemporary anarchistic movements take inspiration from the Zapatistan idea of preguntado caminamos, asking, we walk. Anarchist theorizing is primarily informed and driven by actual participation in different struggles to gain spaces of freedom. This is what Montgomery and Bergman called affirmative theory. The reconstructive vision of anarchism is dynamic, embracing the complexity of society by acknowledging and working with lateral and historical differences and accepting a multiplicity in forms of struggles against domination. In the practice of direct action and prefigurative politics, present tense experiments and practices are always unfinished and imperfect, and are always in process. The anarchist's processual understanding of its vision stimulates creative audacity, which allows the imagination and actualization of alternative pathways to a free society of free individuals. And this, I think, is the promise of an anarchist sociological imagination. The shared concern with social structures and their implications on individual and collective freedom create affinities between sociology and anarchism. Many scholars have attempted to synthesize the two traditions. The most promising attempt so far at a synthesis is is by Jeff Shantz and Dana Williams, who propose to revitalize sociology through a recentering of the discipline upon the values that animate anarchism. My call for an anarchist sociological imagination does not stray far from Shantz and Williams' vision of an anarchist sociology. However, while they aim at reinventing the sociological discipline itself, I retain C. Wright Mill's original concept of the sociological imagination as a non-disciplinary sensibility that even non-sociologists would find useful in understanding society and one's place in it. Infusing the sociological imagination with an anarchist sensibility entails moving beyond grasping history and biography and their relations within society. It means posing the aspiration for freedom front and center as the motivation driving the act of making sense of the world. It means substantially living in the present, inhabiting and being attuned to situations in order to find opportunities for resisting domination and expanding freedom. It means being actively engaged in transformative struggles against empire. So to this end, I propose the following supplement to Mill's 3 questions that animate the individual who exercises the sociological imagination. I propose a set of questions about freedom. How is freedom defined in this society at this point in history? How actively do people participate in composing the relationships that comprise their world? What institutional arrangements impede people from formulating alternatives and making choices on how to live their lives? What forms of control and domination are legitimated and what are frowned upon? Which group of people gets to exercise more control over their lives than others? Another set of questions is a set of questions about alternatives. How is domination and control resisted in this society? Which group of people lead this resistance? How are people creating spaces of collective self-determination within the web of control enveloping them? What ways of organizing are being offered and tested as alternatives to the dominating relationships engendered by empire? How are these initiatives exposing cracks in empire? How could these alternatives to the dominant order be affirmed, defended, and linked with other transformative struggles? The anarchist sociological imagination does not differ from C. Wright Mill's concept in terms of his prescription to spell out intersections between history, biography, and society. It demands, however, an explicit articulation of the sociological imagination's normative aspiration for freedom, much like how anarchism brings an egalitarian ethics out into the world. This offers ethical direction to the effort to gain a sociological understanding of one situation. I proceed from the premise that all attempts at understanding the world are ethically informed. Insisting on a so-called value-free scientific stance in social inquiry is itself an ethical position, albeit largely a white, Eurocentric, and patriarchal position. Advocating for an anarchist sociological imagination does not mean insisting that one should be an anarchist. In the same vein that the goal of anarchism is not to turn everyone into anarchists, but rather to encourage people to think and act for themselves. The call for an anarchist sociological imagination is meant to encourage people to think sociologically with a clear eye towards realizing the promise of freedom. Going back to Berger's analogy, we seek to understand the logic of this puppet theater and the mechanisms by which we have been moved as a mere first step towards gaining freedom. The why of knowledge is just as important as the how. The individual who practices the anarchist sociological imagination takes seriously questions regarding the purpose of knowledge. The promise of freedom would only be realized if it serves as the goal of sociological understanding from the onset. By insisting on the explicit articulation of its normative goals, the anarchist sociological imagination brings to the fore C. Wright Mill's polemic against a social science concerned with trivial content and a social science that serves the interest of power elites. Both trivialization and instrumentalization of sociological knowledge are especially acute in academia. which is plagued by the problems of impenetrable intellectualization, posing as a professional advance in knowledge, and technologization in the interest of research funders. The anarchist sociological imagination seeks to preserve knowledge's revolutionary and emancipatory potential. Aside from exposing and explaining structural impediments to freedom, the anarchist sociological imagination actively seeks exemplars of resistance against domination. The important enterprise of translating personal troubles to public issues goes together with translating individual to collective struggles. It is not a matter of people needing to understand how systems of control work before effective resistance could be waged. A lot of times, it is through acts of resistance that mechanisms of domination get revealed in ways that compel collective responses. The individual who exercises the anarchist sociological imagination possesses a quality of mind that is not only critical, but also reconstructive, seeing not only structural constraints, but also structural possibilities for freedom. Reconstructive vision is the product of both an awareness of the bigger picture and of being intensely present in situations. One becomes aware of the structural opportunities for expanding freedom sociologically through systematic comparative and historical analysis, and in an anarchist fashion through actual prefigurative practice of ways of living and organizing that eschew domination and control. This means taking seriously C. Wright Mill's advice that one should learn to use one's life experience in intellectual work and be personally involved in every intellectual product one is involved in. The exercise of the anarchist sociological imagination is not a detached intellectualism, but an active transformative praxis. The anarchist sociological imagination looks beyond the state and other types of formal, hierarchical organization that are the usual objects of interest of sociology. It questions the efficacy of using vertical power relations, such as statist and managerial solutions, in realizing egalitarian ends and substantive freedom. It trains the spotlight on the voluntary cooperation and largely non-hierarchical ways of relating and organizing that characterize a significant portion of our lives. It proceeds from the anarchist premise that the seeds to realizing a free society of free individuals are on hand and not something that would manifest only in a post-revolutionary future. The anarchist sociological imagination's emphasis on finding potential for freedom in the present is not based on an unfounded optimism or a naive positive view of human nature. Instead, it stems from the recognition and acceptance of society's complexity. Domination is actually the outcome of responding to complexity through simplification. The anarchic response is to learn to live with complexity, just like how one steers through the waves in navigating the ocean. Sabi nga ni Montgomery and Bergman, uncertainty is a necessary correlate to complexity. Uncertainty is where we need to begin because experimentation and curiosity is part of what has been stolen from us. Despite the overbearing reality of unfreedom in the hierarchical world of empire, things can become, and in many instances are already otherwise. Freedom is the chance to create, deliberate, and choose alternative pathways in life. Struggles against domination and control look different everywhere because everywhere is different. A crucial goal in comparative and historical analysis is finding affinities between these struggles and subsequently creating connections that would facilitate the increase in collective transformative power. Now, some already a lot of times people ask me, may makukuha ba na parang potential research problem sa anarchist thought? Meron naman. Actually, you might already be an anarchist, but you just don't realize it. However, if you are still not an anarchist, it might still be fruitful for you to think of the following suggestions from anarchist literature. For example, critiquing capitalism is not digging deep enough. maybe the more fundamental problem is the bigness of human organization. As long as we are organized as a big organization, then hierarchy would always come out, domination would always come out. Even if you remove capitalism. Sabi nga ni Murray Bookchin, the process of simplifying men's environment and rendering it increasingly elemental has cultural as well as physical and a physical dimension. Hindi ko siya mabasa. Wait. Okay. Dito na lang. Okay. A mass concept of human relations is totalitarian, centralistic, and regimented in orientation, tends to dominate the more individualized concepts of the past. All that is spontaneous, creative, and individualized is circumscribed by the standardized, the regulated, and the massified. Actually, out of all living beings in the planet, we are the only living beings that find our needs from the other side of the world. Okay? Parang kaya nga nasisira yung nature kasi we are not living according to what is the human limit, the natural limit. Kasi, kunyari, pagkain mo galing pa sa sa ibang bansa, yung kailangan mo para sa power, kukuha ka pa sa ibang ano. Anong klaseng organizing yun? Baka ang problem talaga is we are organized so big. It's not capitalism per se, although capitalism contributes to it because capitalism loves bigness. Pero kahit socialist ka, kung big ka pa rin, malaki pa rin ang problema mo. The glorification of another proposition is the glorification of the public sphere over the household is a major contributor to the propagation of hierarchical relations. Na-trace kasi ng mga anarchist sa kanilang pag-aaral ng history at ng anthropology that naunang umusbong ang hierarchy between public and private bago yung lalaki at babae. Parang pag mas sinasabi na mas importante ang public kaysa sa private, kaya doon na-derive na mas importante ang kalalakihan kaysa sa kababaihan. At doon din nanggaling daw, kaya dapat nga i-test yung hypothesis na yon, na parang naging mas importante ang economy kaysa dun sa household. Kasi parang lumalabas na parang yung politics, yung public affairs ay mas importante kaysa sa household. Kaya dapat siguro balikan natin, tama ba yung mga slogan na bayan muna bago ang sarili? Mayroon ba dapat contradiction doon? Bakit nilalagyan ng hierarchy na bayan ang mauuna bago ang sarili? Di ba pag inalagaan ng bayan ay pag-aalaga din ng sarili? Bakit natin ito mini-maintain na hierarchic relation? Pangatlo, we must seriously reflect about our own organizations. Are they actually living attempts of the change that we seek, or are they actually reproducing the systems that we critique? So this is a very practical question by anarchists. Yung organization ba natin, kumukuda tayo for freedom, pero walang freedom sa loob ng organization? Yung theory na ginagamit natin encourages us to be creative. We are promoting people to think creatively, to think freely, pero yung theory na ginagamit natin ay sinasabi na ito na ang ultimate theory at wala nang ibang katotohanan pa. So yun yung parang mga tanong na dapat ungkatin. At dito na connect na our obsession with ultimate ends and for theoretical certainty actually distracts us from being attuned to our situation and with the world. Sabi nga ng The Invisible Committee, ganyan yung mga intellectual sa anarchist di ba? Parang kino-quote namin The Invisible Committee. All the reasons for making a revolution are there. Not one is lacking. The shipwreck of politics, the arrogance of the powerful, the reign of falsehood, and the vulgarity of the wealthy, the cataclysms of industry, galloping misery, naked exploitation, ecological apocalypse. We are spared nothing, not even being informed about it all. All the reasons are there, but it's not reasons that make revolutions, it's bodies. And the bodies right now are in front of screens. I do not seek the illusory intellectual security of a universal theory of human history and society, which is an unfortunate legacy of empire that plagues modern systems of thought, including sociology. The sociological imagination should not smother our aspirations for freedom with technocratic or theoretical prescriptions of how we should live our lives. Its normative promise would be realized only if the way we think is itself an exemplar of the freedom we aspire for, cognizant of human diversity, non-controlling in purpose, and experimental in spirit. In closing, the anarchist sociological imagination engenders a quality of mind that seeks to understand the world not in order to command it, but to support and participate in the process of its joyful transformation towards a free society of free individuals. So mga kaibigan, that is the promise of the anarchist sociological imagination. Okay. So ako na rin yung MC. Joke lang. Ano to di ba? Direct action. Sige. I would like to call our reactor. We have 3 reactors to the lecture. I would like to first call, may hierarchy ba? Hindi, joke lang. Hindi. Wala naman, okay. I would like to first call Mr. Gary Granada.
Ayaw niya yata tumayo eh.
Pareho lang yun. Gandang hapon. Oh my God, antok ako sa lecture mo. If you understood all that, you can't possibly be an anarchist. Malawak yung lecture eh. When I saw the paper, actually read the paper, it was delivery. Ang lawak naman ng papel na to. I probably understood half of it, so I thought maybe if I sit down, I can understand better. Now I understand less. So, but I'll pick out this one very small portion of that. I think it's that part where it had the seesaws, no? Left here, it's supposed to be the individual and the collective. It looks neat, but that's not how it works in real life. The easier part is individual. I mean, individual is just a simple skin. What's inside your skin is individual. So it's easy. You can't help it. You will always act, even if you, whatever you do, you will always act according to your biology. So there's really nothing much there. Whatever you do now is it's a product of whatever garbage religious people throw into you since you were a child. So the way you react to things is a biological reaction. So no, not a big problem there. The more challenging part is the community part, the collective part, because as simple as it sounds, you have a different community in the morning, different community in the evening. You don't drink with people you work with. So, what community are we talking about? Are we talking about the national community, the church, the school? That's the real challenge. How do you actually think of communities? And exactly what is it that makes a person belong to or your community, as it were? And each one of us very different explanations. Sometimes we think, oh, community ko yan, because we're in the same physical place. People don't even interact anymore that way. They go to their tablets and have a friend in Austria, Malabon. They don't even know these people. They like. But that's the point in anarchism. No? It's a simple thing. Anarchism is the intention to do more of those things that make you happy. To do things that you like doing as much as possible without having to force others to do things that they don't like doing. That's as simple as that. But that's a zero-sum way of putting it. The better way of putting it is in such a way that also enables others to do more of those things that they like doing. That's anarchism. I'm sure the small entrepreneur who makes a lot of money selling this and that would be happy, but at the expense of others. That's not anarchism. So that's your problem. What is it that? How do you live a life that makes you more or less enables you to do more of those things that you're happy doing, or that enables you to waste your life with people that you like wasting your life with? Is that a useful thing? Yeah, it's a useful thing to do. So the way we do it in our small community, which is 5 people, is not to consider everybody as community. If there's a bridge there broken, I'd like very much to mobilize everybody to repair that bridge. But I don't really care about you. I want to cross this bridge. I want to have something that I can use, and that's useful to you too. I don't have to serve you. You don't have to serve me. I don't have to serve the people. But the way I do it makes me serve the people anyway. I don't have to maintain a neurosis of guilt because I need to serve this or this God or these people or this bayan or this. But it creates the same effect. We get to have that well-made, that bridge done. No pretensions. No higher form of struggles. And that's, I think, is the way you do anarchism every day. There are other more difficult disciplines, if you can call it. Because those things that make us do what we like to do under the present liberal economic or global order has to do with things that you own or you possess. And there has to be a bridge between that which makes you happy and those things that you own. So you need to reconcile, paano ba yun? Paano ba yung mga kabagay-bagay na tayo may-ari, pag-aari? No? How do you manage that part? And I'm asking, like, right now, does anyone here have a family that doesn't own serious property? Like, do you yourself, do you have monies that you save that you actually don't need for tomorrow? Or of course you protect yourself. You're not anarchists. Anarchists don't care about these things, supposedly. We try very hard. I'm not proud to say it because, it's probably a wrong way of living. But really, I don't own a house, I don't own a car, I just crash or wherever. I cook, so I get to eat. We live together in a house which nobody owns. Just renting together. I don't know how we live, but actually get to produce things, sometimes useful things. And this is a challenge. It's an ethic that you don't call an ethic. Otherwise, you will sound like, someone important. And that's how you live, and that's how anarchism is lived out. All these theories are good. But sa araw-araw, it had to do with, ano ba? Paano mo ba sasabihin? Paano ba mabuhay bilang anarkista? I think that's the more practical question. Paano ba tayo mabubuhay na bilang anarkista? No? How do you deal, again, going back to the community, paano ko pakitunguhan yung bayan, community rin? So, and they're doing something good also. Okay, it's bad for me. I don't like seeing people getting killed just because they're suspects. So of course I'll go with you. Let's protest against EJK and all that. But you're not my friend. Come on, I only have 5 friends I want to drink with. That's my community. The problem, I think, it used to be called Stirnerian. Max Turner, really an individualist anarchist. One of the useless, that's how, yeah, one of the useless types of anarchists. But sometimes we actually join others because we think that if the price of rice is brought down, we will be able to eat a little bit more, and that's good for us. But that's our reason for joining other communities. No, none of those serve the people. It sounds bad, no? But that's how we ano yung actual concrete form of our organization? We mimic the form of an NGO. We pretend to be an NGO. So you make a proposal that sounds like how the things that the funding agencies like to do. And then you do things that you really like to do, and in your report you explain why you had to change the things that you said you will do. And this is the better way of doing the things that you like to do because the situation has changed. We've managed so far to fool a couple of funding agencies, but and I don't know that it will, how long it will going to take. But you improvise. You improvise along the way. We're not the deal. The deal is the lasing kind of anarchists. I hope you watch the live streaming. In Info House. Yeah, we have different anarchist communities. They are the real deal. They are the anarchists who actually do real anarchism. We're the civil society type of anarchist. That's why they asked me to talk first. It's a graduation of seriousness. Thank you very much.
Salamat po, sir. Yung susunod naman nating reactor is si Mr. Asher Israel G. Kimson. He's a member of Mutual Aid, not Charity Collective, community organizer and advocate of autonomous communal living. He is a book reader and collector, and he's also a rice coffee addict. So let's please welcome Mr. Kimson.
Ang ganda nung Sir Gary has a very good question on how can we live as an anarchist. I remember Dr. Randy Nobleza of Marinduque State College once he was asked on that. Ang sabi niya, huwag kang maging pasista sa sarili mo, which it already comprises all. The research or the lecture that was given to us by Sir Erwin is very malawak. And at the same time, I can say holistic din. Na ultimong katiting pwedeng mapakialaman ng anarkisto sa buhay mo. It also emphasizes yung anarchist order, which is very important. And this lecture is a redeeming time para sa definition ng anarchism that has been, sabi niya, had been demonized for so long. And sa ngayon ay nagkakaroon ng redemptive process. Parang masyadong Well, I am also come from a church-based may konting stint sa preaching, and that is also the reason why And kung yung tanong ni Manong Gary para sa akin sabihin ko lang, dahil nga galing from church, ang sagot naming mga Christians yan or coming from a religious base love, which is very basic. We often say that, pero ang hirap ipamuhay pa rin. Sa mga issue natin sa lipunan ngayon, lahat ng problema parang nagkakaroon ng konting kulang dun sa parte na yun. Pero alam natin yung bagay na yun. Yun, So, the practical, is yung daw. Ang ganda ng definition ng friend and free na binigay. Which, yun yung kinuha kong Well, when it comes in mga actions naman or activities, kung paano natin makikita yun, may mga, there are certain groups, collectives, or organizations, or should I say organized yet not organization. Mas mahirap pag sinabing disorganized. Organizations sila. Organized yet not organizations, na very imaginative and at the same time creative, which is in today's struggle about the things or the problem in this society today is what we are lacking: creativity and imagination. Hanggang doon lang ba tayo sa usual at nakikita natin na way of protesting, way of doing our struggles, way to answer or to call, to advocate something. That is why there are certain collectives na they do the footnote bombs, they do the free haircut, kaya maraming long hair. Na anarchist din may free haircut po kami. May free market because that is out of love. May mga naiintindihan kong maigi ngayon. May mga ganon. Remember in Europe, yung ginagawa ni Banksy, very yung impact and influence niya. Hindi niya naman nililabel yung sarili niya na anarchist siya. Pero it's very imaginative and creative to challenge the oppressor, to challenge those who are challenging yung mga nasa baba. Very imaginative and creative. Siguro, yun ang isa sa dapat nating maintindihan to have a, not to say anarchist society, but to have a free society of free individuals. So, coming from church, meron din kami yan free church of free individuals. Kaya I believe in the autonomy of the church din. SB na ako. SB. Baptist na Baptist. So that's it. I'm very pleased and honored to be invited as one of the reactor, and I think palakpakan natin si Sir Erwin para sa the greatest reaction would be wow.
Salamat po. Meron pa tayong pangatlong reactor, si Mr. Justoni Robbie Franco. He is an advocate of the free school movement, and he's also a faculty of social entrepreneurship. So let's please welcome Mr. Franco.
Ayun, siguro, hatiin ko yung discussion ko sa tatlong bahagi. Wala kasi ako ma-share kung hindi yung na-experience ko lang. Oo. Kasi yun lang yung sigurado ako eh. Yun lang yung certain. Kasi lahat ng nasa imagination ko, imagination pa rin. So, the promise of an anarchist sociological imagination. Unang parte, naalala ko nung college ako, PUP Quezon City, Commonwealth. Maliit na campus, okay, pero PUP. Guess nyo na yan, di ba? Okay. So, maliit na campus lang siya. Definitely, merong mga iba't ibang org, pero masyado kaming ipet pagdating dun sa control and manipulation ng aming administration. Dahil nga, maliit yung campus, madaling mas manipulate na control, and mas madaling ma-identify yung mga tao or mga individuals. So, naalala ko doon, kapag meron kaming mga pagkilos, laging nakalink sa PUP main, Santa Mesa. No? Nagmamasid lang ako ng mga time na yun. May mga miyembro sa amin ng mga kilusan doon sa akin namin, pero patago, iba yung galaw. Hindi katulad nung nasa main campus. Yung iba tumatakbo sa mga org, like mga clubs, ganyan. SSG, SSC, mga ganun. So, hindi pa ako ganun kalubog dun sa idea ng anarchism until nangyari siya dahil all of my imagination and all of my criticism regarding what is happening inside the campus and the politics inside the campus, ginagawa ko siya on my own. And all of my colleagues and friends inside the movement, they're just laughing at me. Dahil anong ginagawa ko mag-isa. Pero since they're laughing at me, it means that meron siyang impact. That is the, yun yung tinatawag nating, bawat galaw natin as individual, hindi natin siya pwedeng masukat ng quantity. Meron tayong qualitative research, di ba? Oo. Hindi lang quantity yung magbibigay ng dikta sa lahat ng bagay. And na-experience ko siya at meron siyang impact dahil may mga pumupuna sa akin at may nagbibigay ng mga komento. At sa tingin ko, meron namang nagagawa yung mga ginagawa ko. So, wag tayong matakot. Yung imahinasyon natin, wag nating hayaang ma-co-op ng iba at mailapat natin sa praktika na material, magiging certain siya, diba? So, pag naging certain siya, sigurado tayo doon. May babahagi tayong sigurado na nanggaling sa atin, sa sarili natin, at ginawa natin. Okay, pangalawa. Yung pangatlo, parte ng discussion ko, magkadugtong. Nagtuturo kasi ako. Nagtuturo ako sa dalawang bahagi, no? Bibiyakin ko sa dalawang bahagi. Yung isa, free school movement. Isa ako sa, paano ko ba sabihin? Isa ako sa nag-initiate ng RAD-Ed, Radical Education. So it's just a network of different, merong nasa progressive yung spectrum ng ideas sa education. So, bilang ako, meron kaming in-initiate na Mayari Free School Movement, which is, nagsimula siya ng 2018 ng March, and then, mahirap siyang simulan. Yung Free School Movement, hinugod to sa yung parang anarchist pedagogy, no? Pero yung setting namin nung March, nung una siyang tinayo, since meron ako mga kasama ditong iba't ibang mga co-teachers ko from the formal schooling, masyado siyang structured. May structured pa siya. So, all is planned. Meron kami nirerentahan. Yung organization, structured na structured siya. So, to make it short, nawala siya. Bumagsak siya. Bakit? Kasi hindi siya fit doon sa idea na gusto i-push ng free school movement. And then yung mismong praktika yung ginagawa. Kasi you cannot have a fixed rent. You cannot have a fixed rent and fixed laborers tuloy, sorry. You cannot have fixed volunteers na mag-work in a free school movement because the idea itself is free school movement. You cannot have a fixed schedule on the schedule how they learn, the students will learn. And I mean, the curriculum and everything must be designed by the students on their time, on their own. So, hindi siya bumabangga dun sa idea. Okay? Kasi nga, hindi din nakalubog sa idea. At the same time, hindi sanay sa practice yung iba naming kasamang volunteers. So, nawala siya. Suddenly, July 2018 or August 2018, nag-usap-usap kaming mga volunteers na in line with the idea of anarchism. And we start again the Mayari Free School Movement. Before ang pangalan niya is Mayari Independent Academy. Then, nung binalik namin siya, Mayari Free School Movement na yung pangalan niya. Ang ginamit namin, wala na kaming espasyo, ginamit namin yung outdoor, yung labas, since ang Bulacan ay medyo rural area. So, ginamit namin yung labas sa outdoor schooling. Ginamit rin namin yung pagpapaalam sa community mismo and yung sa mga elders doon para suportahan kami dun sa mismong project. Kasi yung community is napaka-importante na bahagi. Kasi sila yung karelasyon mo and sila yung bumubuo ng mismong proyekto. So dapat involved sila doon sa lahat, sa desisyon. So, ganun din yung mga volunteers. No? So, nag-work siya. Kumikilos yung free school movement. Hindi na nga lang siya ganun structured. So, hindi ko masabi siyang bigo ngayon dahil hindi siya nag-work every Sunday. Dahil hindi rin naman every Sunday yung rule namin or yung ideal ng free school movement. Hindi rin naman every Sunday. So, hindi ko masabi na fail siya in terms of its objective. Kasi yung objective niya is to have a free school every time na mag-decide yung students and teachers. And we have a GC with the students in the community and the teachers. And we decide with the schedule. We decide with what we are going to learn on the particular day. Okay. So, yun. Yung isang bahagi, nasa school ako, nagtuturo ako. Galing ako ngayon sa Asia Pacific College. I'm a part-time teacher there. So, mahirap maging teacher sa isang structured na eskwelahan. Because you have a curriculum, you have this DepEd, you have this, from the DepEd, you have the policies of the school, and the faculty itself, your director, in the senior high school. So, mahirap ilapat dun sa praktika yung idea ng anarchism inside the classroom. But, we can bend it. We can make, we can flex, we can adjust kahit papano. And then by that, how you treat your students and how you do your class, though hindi mo i-label na this is anarchism, because magiging poser ka lang dahil hindi mo nga kaya talaga panindigan doon sa buong sistema. Wag mo na lang i-label or wag mo lang i-declare. But when my students know that I am an anarchist, when they ask my political ideology, nagulat sila. They start asking me. And they try to link it with the practice that I am doing in my class. So, I think that's, siguro i-end ko yung discussion sa, our imagination can be a certain truth if maibaba natin siya sa practice. And as an anarchist, tawag dito, hindi ko masabi na naintindihan ko agad siya nung una ko siyang na-meet yung meaning itself. And when I was in college, when I was in doing the Mayari Free School or the Radical Education Network, hindi ko agad, mahirap siyang i-digest by the idea. But when you do it in practice and you relate it to other people, dun mo may experience siya. Kasi hindi naniniwala yung mga friends ko in the movement. Ano ba yan? Walang blueprint, walang planning, walang everything. Sobrang hilaw, sobrang sabaw, ganyan. That's it eh. That's art, right? That's art. Mukha siyang sabaw. Pero, kapag binaba mo na siya at nagagawa mo siya, hindi ka nila pwedeng sabihang sabaw kasi nagagawa mo siya. And you can do it on yourself. Diba? And meron ka may haharap sa kanila. Yun lang. Thank you.
Siyempre, unang bahagi lang yung pagbibigay ng lecture ni Professor Rafael at saka reactors natin. Ang mahalagang bahagi din ng ating public lecture ay ang inyong mga katanungan. So, ang floor po ay bukas para sa inyong mga questions, clarifications sa ating lecture or maging sa ating mga reactors. So, nandun po yung mic sa may gitna. At inaanyayahan po tayo na magbahagi ng kanilang questions o ang inyong mga reactions din dun sa inyong mga narinig ngayong araw na to. Sige po.
Ulo? Ulo? Why? Planted?
Hello po. Ako po si Tax mula sa BA Malikhaing Pagsulat, tapos may project din ako yung Safe Housing po siya. So, may medyo tatlo yung tanong ko. Or dalawa. Kasi nabanggit niyo yung unity and diversity kanina. Tapos nabanggit din yung parang critical edge ng anarchist thought. So, parang may version somehow yung ibang ideologies na kahawig. Pero paano niyo masasabi na kaiba siya dun sa, halimbawa sa Marxism? Meron silang dialectic. So, supposedly merong nagbabanggaan palagi na mga ideas, synthesis, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, in comparison dun sa critical edge na sinasabi kanina. Tapos, yung unity and diversity, meron din naman yan yung, actually, di ba? Motto ng Indonesia, yung unity and diversity. Pero, ginigera nila ngayon yung West Papua, which is supposedly part daw nila, pero of different race, of medyo malayo sa kanila, malayo sa Java, malayo sa Sumatra, sa pinaka-west, pinaka-east pa ng Indonesia, pero sinasabi nila sa kanila. So, pero sinasabi nila na inaalagaan nila yung diversity. Kaya okay lang na ko rin nila. Okay. Tapos, ano yung kasi pa? Yung tanong ko. Kasi, para yung pangatlong tanong, gaano ka-importante na i-declare mo na anarchist ka or importante ba siya o hindi? Kasi yung ibang anarchist, may mga na-meet ako na, ay, okay lang na hindi nila sabihin na anarchist sila. Importante ba siya? Bakit? O kung hindi, bakit hindi importante?
Okay. Ang hirap naman ang mga tanong mo. Kala ko ikaw yung planted na. Sige. Yung doon sa una, I think it's about, at the end of the day, yung pagdating doon sa unity and diversity na part. Parang ano doon is, how do you achieve the unity? Diba? Kasi if you achieve the unity by trying to impose on everybody a certain behavior, a certain way of doing things, a certain ano, tingin ko doon nagiging problematic. No? I think the anarchists would say that unity and diversity should come as a way of treating each other as equals, not as an imposition from a certain rule of law, a certain rule na parang nangingibabaw sa iba. Yung doon naman sa ano, yung sa dialectics, mahaba-habang usapan yun kasi na ano, kaya I think I won't touch on that. Parang ano, I think it will take a whole lecture, okay, just to ano, because some anarchist thinkers still do use dialectics. For example, Murray Bookchin, even though he's very critical of Marxists, he never abandoned the dialectic as a way of thinking. No? So, hindi mo naman pwede kasi sabihin na ano, mahirap lang kasi pag may nag-claim lang na sila lang yung tamang pag-iisip na dialectic, mas dun magkakaproblema. Kasi dialectic is really a technique, no? A way of thinking, and I don't think anybody could really claim that they are doing the true dialectics. Ano. Yun dun sa pangatlo, ano nga ba yung pangatlo? Yung is it important to declare? I think it's more important to practice it. No? What I realized the last, for example, when I offered an Anarchist Sociology class 4 semesters ago, some of my students would actually realize that how I conducted the class is actually how I've been conducting classes before. And we just put a name on it. And it might not be that important to label yourself as an anarchist, but I think it's important now, if only to make people realize the importance of the idea. If only for that, na parang yan mo siya. Pero whether are you a true anarchist or not, I think that's not a very productive discussion. Because if pag nag-i-impose na ng mga totoong anarkista o hindi, then babalik na naman tayo dun sa hierarchy na mayroong totoo at mayroong peking anarkista. And then how do you achieve the may complexity at saka diversity kung nagkakaroon ng gradations?
Magpo-promote na ako. Hindi, meron kaming 2 higaan na bakante. Kaya gusto ganap kayo ng libreng board and lodging. Kumakain kami sabay-sabay. Meron kaming maraming laruan doon. Meron kaming 3D printing. Meron kaming video editing. Meron kaming live streaming. Meron laser. And if you want seriously, if you want to consider joining us as a volunteer, we have a place for 2 more people. Maganda dito, malapit lang si UB, sa Old Balala lang kami. Pwede ba yun?
Na-direct action mo na.
Iwan ko yung number sa mga. If you have skills in communication arts better, writing, documentation, photography, video, yung mga. Iwan ko yung number dito pa. Gusto niyo makuha. Thank you.
Siguro sasagutin ko lang yung pangatlo. Dati ako, ang yabang ko pa nga eh. Anarchist ako. Yung dami palang di nakakaintindi nun. Dami palang di nakakaintindi. So, dumating yung pagkakataon na basa-basa, na naglalagay ka ng hierarchy na. Kasi being an anarchist means living a lifestyle na walang style. may lifestyle kayo ginagawa mo araw-araw. Kasi yun yung katulad yung sinabi. Pag sinabi mo anarchist ka tapos meron kang hindi nagawa, diba? Pagmumukha ka ng poser. Diba? So mas maganda ng hindi mo i-label, let them label you, but not labeling yourself to the others. No? So part ng ano yun ethics siguro natin, ethic ng isang anarkista na stay humble. No? Ano din, no?
Ay, at saka maganda doon kasi minsan-minsan dumadalaw doon yung mga, makakilala mo yung mga iba-ibang klaseng anarchists. Minsan-minsan dumadalaw sila doon sa bahay. Kumbaga kung ano ng mga activities, mga secret meetings sila minsan. Secret nga eh. Mamimit mo sila din doon yung iba-ibang traditions na. Marami kasi, may mga Christian anarchists, may mga syndicalists, may mga doon it's also a space for at mas maraming smoking area kaysa hindi.
Nasagutin ko pa yung tanong. Okay. Ayun, tulad nga nung sinabi ko kanina, ilawat na lang ulit natin sa ano. Yung tanong ni Docs na about sa kung importante bang i-label na anarchista ka, hindi. Siguro depende sa sitwasyon at pagkakataon eh. Nung nagtuturo ako, nung unang bahagi na ng mga taon ko sa pagtuturo, inuuna ko yung idea ng anarchism bago yung values. So, sa tingin ko may problema doon. Oo, may mga natutunan ako doon. Kasi, pag inuuna mo yung label, parang meron agad judgment yun. May discriminatory na agad. Tawag ito? Parang phenomena agad sa sitwasyon. So, tinry ko na tanggalin yun. Kasi nakikita ko na hindi siya gets ng tao eh. Tawag dito, yun nga, yung idea, ang hirap niya na ma-digest. So, hindi na ako nagpapakilala ng anarchista kahit sa klase or hindi na ako nagpapakilala ng anarchism na political ideology. Hindi ko na siya dinadaanan. Oo. Pero, yung mismong halimbawa, ang subject namin ay ang tinuturo kasi is entrepreneurship, no? This is subject namin, entrepreneurship. Paano mo siya gagawin sa loob ng organization? Usually, ang organization natin, hierarchical talaga siya. Tapos may centralized. Kasi yun daw yung efficient. Pero we tried to parang experiment yung different kinds of approach. Paano mo siya gagawin? So, mas naiintindihan nila. Okay. Kumbaga para siyang inductive. Yes, a deductive approach. Yung, practice muna talaga. Tapos, yun, gawin na lang. Pero pag may nagtatanong sa akin na friend ko, mga social sciences faculty or let's say sabihin natin, mga friend ko sa movement, they hate kapag di nila sinasabi na parang pag di ko sinasabi na anarchist ako. Sila yung nagpipinpoint, hindi, anarchist ka. Ano kayo? Hindi, ganito kayo. Pero, ayun. Anarchist ako para magkaintindihan na lang tayo. Ganun. For the sake na magkaintindihan tayo sa political language. Ayun. Kasi, yun yung intindihan natin, yung common natin. So, yung sagot ko, depende sa sitwasyon, tsaka depende sa pagkakataon. Ayun.
Meron pa po tayong, sige, si ate po muna, tsaka si kuya. Magkasunod na lang kayo para yung pagsagot ay isahan na lang.
Sige. Hello po. Dapat i-Facebook chat ko na. Charot. Hindi, kasi gusto ko rin i-open yung
discussion for everyone kasi something siya na problematic siguro na nakausap ko yung ibang kaibigan ko. So parang ang pinupunto kasi nila ay meron kasing lalabas pa rin ng natural hierarchy kapag kahit na anarchistic yung approach mo. Kasi ang problema ngayon sa lipunan especially ay kulang ng initiative, kunwari. So, kunwari sa amin, medyo anarchistic yung principle ng organizing namin dahil wala siya talagang hierarchy. Pero pag nilabas mo daw sa mga community na mas malalawak, mas malalaki, parang, or kaya hindi lahat magkakilala, parang ganun, kahit na maliit siya, hindi sila close. Meron pa rin lalabas na hierarchy, meron pa rin lalabas na authority, kumbaga. So parang paano ma-reconcile, for example ngayon, yung necessity ng pag-organisa, kumbaga, ng walang hierarchy, ng batas ang lahat. Pero at the same time, kulang na kulang sa initiative yung mga tao. Kasi experience nila na pumupunta sila sa mga community, nag-roll out sila ng mga project, or hindi sila, pero tinutulungan talaga nila na yung community mismo ang may-ari. Parang to take ownership of the projects, of their community itself. Parang hindi naman sila nasa labas na nangihimasok lang, pero talaga tinatry nilang i-develop yung relationship na yun. Pero hindi nag-uugat talaga. So, doon nila nakikita na natural na lalabas na kailangan ng hierarchy. So, paano ba natin ma-reconcile yung ganong issue pagdating sa organizing principles ng anarchism?
Hi sir, I'm Kate Paul, second year BA Political Science student. In terms of revolutionary practice, sir, kasi if the promise of anarchism is an alternative, it offers an alternative future, how does anarchism offer to arrive at that future? Kasi I understand that it's a processual thing, rather than just theoretical like Marxism. It's more of a process and a lifestyle. Pero how does it propose to arrive like at that concrete future of free society, of free individuals? Kasi as I understand it, parang anarchist praxis is yung practice nila ng organizing is very localized, if not atomized. And kasi especially now in the Philippine context, we're up against a very like bureaucratic, technocratic state with a very powerful military and police apparatus. Parang how does anarchism propose to struggle against that state if ganun if very limited lang yung organizing niya. Kasi I understand naman na it's a lifestyle parang, pero how do we, hindi ko ma-envision, hindi ko ma-reconcile like yung anarchist praxis dun sa sa revolutionary movement talaga. Thank you sir.
Ay, hirap ng tanong. Ganito. I think kasi dalawa yung dyan. I think both of you are hitting on the same thing. And I think you have to realize that a lot of hierarchic organization emerged because of speed. Dahil nagmamadali. So pag nagmamadali ka, ang tendency mo, mag-hierarchic organization ka. So I think it will require a lot of patience talaga. Okay, na andun. Kasi yun nga, pag minamadali mo yung mga tao, dun kasi magagawa yung and then, yung parang kapag very clear yung goals, it also brings a lot of sa hierarchic organization because yung trying to meet the goals na very specific, it will drive you to force people to meet those goals, no? So, I think one should look at, for example, one of the more successful anarchist experiments which happened in Spain, no? In the 1930s. Some say that it's because of quick fix organizing, parang ang gagaling no CNT nung in-organize nila yung ganun. Pero if you look at it, they had decades of experience of trying to spread ideas that would make people realize that they want an anarchist type of life, no? So, I think yung isasagot ko dyan is, it really will take time. It really will take time. Because we are living in a world where we are dominated by hierarchic organizing principles. So, we actually don't have much practice. But, ang kailangan mo lang ma-realize ay, actually, a big portion of your life is organized non-hierarchically. madalas ang hierarchic na pagkaka-organize yung mga formal organization. Pero if you look at the informal relationships, hindi nga yung mga relationship, yung mga informal dyan, it's not really organized hierarchically. So I think we could work on that. No, you could start on that. Kapag pinilit mo kasi na may programa, okay, na it will tend na parang yun nga, ipupush mo yung mga tao and it really will defeat the purpose of that. So, ang doon is, it will take time. Dapat wag tayo mainip. Kasi makikita rin naman natin, pati naman yung inorganize hierarchically, hindi rin naman nila nagagawa yung kailangan nila gawin. So why not start with small na parang mas personal, mas gradual yung pag-spread ng idea. Which is what happened, yun nga, sa Spain. At yun din yung pinaghugutan, for example, na kaya nagiging successful yung sa Rojava ngayon. Kasi because it's very long yung dun sa mga Kurds parang they had to fight and then they have to learn to live together. They had to go through all these experiences so that they would accept a more non-hierarchic way of organizing. The same way na ganun din yung nangyari sa mga Zapatistas sa Mexico. They return to their indigenous roots on how they organize and then they remove the formal state na parang pinagkukutan nila yun.
Okay. Sige, management. Pag pinag-uusapan yung efficiency talaga, what is pragmatic? Wala nang question dun. Effective talaga yung hierarchy of the organization. Yung vertical na uri ng organization, effective talaga siya. Smart siya. Specific, di ba? Time bound. Oo, yun yung habol nila eh. Kung ganun yung thinking mo, hindi mo ma-experience yung anarchism na proseso. Kasi yun pa rin yung ini-envision mo or tinitingnan mo. So, ang tendency, maupwersa mo talaga yung sarili mo dun sa oras, dun sa mga kailangan gawin, sa mga hinahabol mong quantity. Remember, yung agricultural society, nag-emerge siya because of mass production and it pushes the people to work for that. Then, di ba, industrial, mas lalo na than until now. So, we make things easy and faster. Yun yung idea ng society natin right now. So, ang tendency talaga is magpunta tayo doon. And then, tinitingnan natin, parang, ideally, the lifestyle na tinitingnan natin is yung ganun din. Yun yung nakikita natin maganda. Yun yung tinatanaw natin na komportable at okay tayong lahat. And we sacrifice yung natural sa spirit natin bilang tao. Diba? Nawala siya eh. Kasi, yun nga, pinapwersa tayo ng idea natin na hindi natin alam kung saan hinugot or itinanim sa isipan natin na yun yung ideal na pamuhay. At pinapwersa tayo ng araw-araw na, alam mo yun, sirain yung katawan natin, di ba? Mas pabilisin yung mga bagay-bagay, mas maagang mamatay, di ba? Hindi, totoo naman, di ba? Lifespan natin ngayon, parang 40s na lang, di ba? Kaya yung PhilHealth natin, 60 bago mo makuha yung pera mo sa PhilHealth. Kasi on their research, 40 lang naman ang lifespan ng Filipino So para sa kanila na yung pera, di ba? So 60 plus 65, tumagal ka ng 5 years pa, swerte mo. May pension ka pa, di ba? Makuha sa loob ng 5 years. 3,000 naman, not bad. Ewan ko sa inyo. Kung gusto nyo yun. Pero sana inipon nyo na lang yung pera nyo. Kaya ginastos nyo na lang, pinangaan nyo na. Na-enjoy nyo pa, di ba? So, yun. Sa tingin ko, yung thinking natin, kailangan natin i-redesign para makuha natin yung proseso na yun. And sabay mangyayari yun. Yan. Pero kung nagmamadali pa rin tayo, may hinahabol pa rin tayo, hindi natin ma-experience yung process ng anarchism sa tingin. Thank you.
Hindi oblivious ang anarchism sa big picture, Kasi you have this notion na, okay, it's a small community, here, small community, intentional community. Hindi siya oblivious sa malaking picture. And we share practically the same kasi ano lang, rational reduction na naman. The big picture is we live in a kapitalista na mundo. At in a kapitalista na mundo, ang nagdodomina ay yung may hawak ng pera laban doon sa anak pawis, yung labor. Ayun na nag-generate ng wealth para sa kanila. Sinishare ng lahat yun. Anarchists, national democrats, social democrats. That's a very good question. Bakit hindi effective yung hindi nagro-root? Kasi yung big picture, wala kang kawala. Malaki yung context. Ibig sabihin lang nun, buwagin mo. Buwagin mo yung malaking picture. And then magti-take root. Now, the second question is, ano yung konkretong program? Now, we have, you believe it or not, we have actually plotted it down, cranked the numbers. It's probably going to take 350 80 years. The way we plotted it, the solution is actually very simple. To fight capitalism, ang dali lang, do not use their money. That is how you fight capitalism. Really. Do not use their money. That is how you fight capitalism. Paano yun? You create your own bank, you create your own money. You create your own ledgering system. I fully respect yung revolutionary project. But you know what? If you use guns to fight the capitalists, you buy the guns from the capitalists. You use their money, you end up supporting the capitalists. The way to fight the system is to create your own currency, stop spending their money, create your own local currency. We actually have done that. Doon po sa aming maliit na bahay-bahay, may sarili po kaming pera doon. And we use it to pass around. Our currency is minutes, not the peso. But it's a theoretical framework. It works because technology allows us to make it work now. We have uploaded the code sa GitHub. You can actually track it. You want to design your own system, it's there. And we believe that it can be done. Ang problema lang talaga, paano ba ipapaliwanag na mangyayari? If you are interested, we'll be very happy to show you week 1 to week 10,000 what we are going to do until we reach that point. I think week 3,000 we reach the narrow money. If you know money, right? You have 0 and 1, you have narrow money, and then 2, 3 broad money. We reach narrow money. Ibig sabihin yung nagsisirculate na pera, maaabot natin yun sa week 3,000. And then we build. I think about 300 years to replace yung currency. It's going to take that long. But hey, 50 years na revolution natin, hindi pa tayo umusod ng konti.
May mga collective na ngayon na they're into the autonomous living. A certain island na meron sa summer in sa Aurora, isang island na naka-design na for autonomous living. Summer in Mindanao meron ngayon. Nagplano kami sa bandang Diliman. Balik siya yun. Pero yun nga, matagal talaga eh. Kahit ako, di ko sasabihin na bukas na yan, sa isang taon na yan, makikita ko na yan. Hindi. It's a long, laborious process, I think. Pero, sabi ni Shane Claiborne, another world is possible.
Okay. Yung interested pala dun sa sa sinasabi ni Manggari, may video sa YouTube, Motus Nostri, yung tama ba? Ang isa-search. Tapos makikita nyo yung idea doon na if your currency is denominated in hours and minutes, you could actually beat the system. Parang ganun labor theory pa.
It's unfortunate that the public lecture is a structured space. I know that you would want to know more, and I I think you can approach any of them and they would be willing to discuss whatever question you have. But unfortunately, we have to end the public lecture right now. I would like to thank everyone na nagstay at ang ating mga reactors who took time to be here. At lalo na ang ating lecturer for today, Erwin, Paeng. Inaanyayahan ko po kayo sa susunod na public lecture, sa susunod na buwan, October, at ang topic po natin sa next month ay about the emotional labor of jail officers na ibibigay ni Professor Hannah Nario Lopez. Muli po, maraming salamat sa pagtangkilik ng Sociology Public Lecture. Sana po ay nabigyan namin kayo ng ibang kahulugan at perspektiba mula sa disiplina ng sosyolohiya. Maraming salamat.